The grand hall of the Galactic Assembly buzzed with tension as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for what many believed would be humanity's final hearing. Captain Jackson Rivers stood at the center of it all, his weathered face showing, no sign of the pressure bearing down on him. Behind him, Ambassador Talia Knox shuffled through diplomatic papers, her hands steady despite knowing that these documents might be humanity's last hope for peace. The Zephyrian Coalition had ruled the galaxy for 3 centuries, their blue-scaled forms and piercing golden eyes commanding respect from every corner of known space. High Regent Korth rose from his crystalline throne, his voice echoing through the chamber with the authority of ages. The regent's massive form cast shadows across the assembly floor as he began to speak. Humans of Earth. Korth's voice rumbled, like distant thunder. You have been called before this assembly to answer for your crimes against galactic order. Your species has developed quantum manipulation technology without permission from the Coalition Council. This violation cannot be ignored. Captain Rivers felt his jaw tighten. The technology Korth spoke of had been discovered by Dr. Elena Vasquez and her team during routine deep space mining operations. The quantum crystals found in the Kepler system had revolutionized human understanding of space-time manipulation, allowing for instantaneous communication across vast distances and energy generation that surpassed anything the galaxy had seen. Ambassador Knox stepped forward, her diplomatic training taking over. High Regent, with respect, humanity discovered this technology through our own research and exploration. We have offered to share our findings with all peaceful civilizations just as we have always done. We seek cooperation, not dominance. A harsh laugh echoed from the Coalition's military section. General Vex Carados, a reptilian warrior whose scars told stories of 100 battles, rose to his feet. His species, the Drakmari, had served as the Coalition's primary military force for generations. Cooperation? He hissed, his forked tongue flicking between razor-sharp teeth. Your kind multiplies like parasites, consuming resources and expanding without limits. Now you possess technology that could upset the balance we have maintained for centuries. Dr. Vasquez, who had been silent until now, could no longer contain herself. The brilliant scientist had spent her entire career pushing the boundaries of human knowledge, and she refused to see her life's work used as justification for oppression. The quantum crystals respond uniquely to human neural patterns, she said, her voice carrying across the chamber. We have tried to teach other species to use them, but the connection requires specific biological markers that appear only in human genetics. This revelation sent ripples of unease through the assembly. The Coalition had built its power on the premise that all technology could be shared and controlled by the ruling council. The idea that humans possessed something truly unique challenged the very foundation of their authority. High Regent Korth's golden eyes narrowed as he processed this information. For centuries, the Coalition had maintained peace by ensuring no single species could gain a decisive advantage over others. They had crushed rebellions, absorbed smaller civilizations, and maintained order through careful balance of power. Humanity's emergence as a technological force had already disrupted this balance, but the news that their quantum technology was uniquely human-compatible threatened everything the Coalition stood for. If this technology cannot be shared, Korth said slowly, then it cannot be allowed to exist. The safety of the galaxy depends on preventing any one species from gaining insurmountable advantages over others. You will surrender all quantum crystals and research data to Coalition custody immediately. The chamber fell silent. Captain Rivers exchanged glances with Ambassador Knox, both understanding that this moment would define humanity's future. They had prepared for this possibility, but facing it in reality felt different. Behind them, Dr. Vasquez gripped her research tablet tighter, years of groundbreaking work reduced to a political bargaining chip. And if we refuse? Rivers asked, though he already knew the answer. General Carados smiled, revealing rows of predatory teeth. Then the Coalition will do what it has done for 3 centuries when faced with threats to galactic stability. You will be neutralized. The weight of the word neutralized hung in the air like a death sentence. Every representative in the chamber understood its meaning. Entire civilizations had been neutralized when they refused to comply with coalition demands. Their planets became asteroids, their histories became cautionary tales, and their people became memories. Ambassador Knox felt her diplomatic composure crack for the first time in her career. She had spent years building relationships across the galaxy, believing that reason and cooperation could bridge any gap between species. Now she faced the reality that some gaps could only be crossed through submission or strength. "You're asking us to surrender the greatest discovery in human history," she said, her voice carrying both sadness and steel. "To give up technology that could revolutionize medicine, energy production, and space travel for every civilization in the galaxy, all because you fear what humanity might become." Fear? High Regent Korth's laugh was cold and mechanical. "We do not fear humans, Ambassador Knox. We simply recognize patterns. Young species often mistake their potential for destiny. The galaxy has seen countless civilizations rise and fall, each believing themselves to be special, each convinced they could reshape the cosmic order. We have learned that such ambitions lead only to chaos and destruction." Dr. Vasquez stepped closer to the center of the chamber, her scientific mind racing through possibilities. She had spent months studying the quantum crystals, unlocking secrets that challenged established physics. The crystals didn't just respond to human neural patterns, they seemed to resonate with something deeper, something that connected all humans across space and time. She suspected the technology could evolve in ways the Coalition couldn't imagine, but sharing that suspicion now would only strengthen their resolve to destroy it. Captain Rivers had heard enough. His military background taught him to recognize when diplomacy had reached its limits. The Coalition wasn't interested in negotiation or compromise. They wanted complete submission. He thought of Earth, of the billions of humans who had built their civilization from nothing, who had reached for the stars despite every obstacle. The same species that had survived ice ages, world wars, and the harsh journey to space would not simply surrender their future to alien overlords. "High Regent," Rivers said, his voice carrying the authority of command, "humanity appreciates the Coalition's concerns about galactic stability. However, we cannot and will not surrender technology that represents our species' greatest achievement. If the Coalition views human progress as a threat, perhaps the problem lies not with humanity's ambitions, but with the Coalition's willingness to suppress them." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. No species had spoken so directly to the Coalition leadership in living memory. General Carados's hand moved instinctively to his weapon, while other Coalition representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. High Regent Korth's golden eyes blazed with something between rage and disbelief. "Captain Rivers, you speak as though humanity has a choice in this matter. You represent a single planet, barely 3 centuries into space travel, facing a coalition of thousands of worlds with millions of years of combined experience. Your defiance is admirable but ultimately meaningless." "Perhaps," Rivers replied, meeting the Regent's gaze without flinching. "But meaningless or not, it's our defiance to make. Humanity has never bowed to tyrants, whether they wear crowns or scales. We've fought for our freedom against impossible odds before, and we'll do it again if necessary." The threat was clear, and the Coalition leadership understood it perfectly. Ambassador Knox felt her heart racing as she realized there would be no diplomatic solution to this crisis. Dr. Vasquez clutched her research tablet, knowing that the knowledge contained within might soon become humanity's most powerful weapon. The quantum crystals had shown them glimpses of possibilities that defied conventional understanding, and she suspected they had barely scratched the surface of their potential. 3 months after the failed diplomatic meeting, the first shots of the Galactic War echoed across the Centauri system. Commander Blake Morrison watched from the bridge of the human battleship Defiance as Coalition destroyers dropped out of hyperspace, their massive forms blotting out the stars. The enemy had come in force just as intelligence reports had predicted. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, reported Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station. 43 Coalition vessels, including 6 dreadnoughts. They're powering weapons and moving into attack formation." Morrison felt his pulse quicken but kept his voice steady. The 34-year-old commander had earned his rank through unconventional thinking and an ability to see patterns others missed. Today, those skills would be tested against the galaxy's most experienced military force. Behind him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency, each person understanding that humanity's survival might depend on the next few hours. In the fighter bay, Serena Cross performed final checks on her modified interceptor. The 28-year-old pilot had broken every flight record in human space, but today would be different. Her ship had been equipped with experimental quantum-enhanced engines that Dr. Vasquez's team had developed in secret. The technology allowed for micro-jumps through folded space, giving human fighters maneuverability that defied conventional physics. "All fighters report ready," Cross announced over the comm, her voice carrying the calm confidence that had made her a legend among human pilots. Around her, 49 other fighters prepared for launch, each pilot knowing they faced impossible odds, but refusing to show fear. The Coalition Fleet Commander, Warlord Thane Zaris, studied tactical displays. From his flagship's bridge, the Krillian warrior had fought in dozens of campaigns, crushing rebellions and pacifying troublesome systems with ruthless efficiency. His 6 arms moved independently across control surfaces as he coordinated the attack, each limb enhanced with cybernetic implants that allowed him to process multiple data streams simultaneously. "Human fleet composition confirmed," reported his tactical officer. 12 heavy cruisers, 37 destroyers, and approximately 50 fighters. Their formation suggests they intend to engage us directly rather than retreat. Zaris's mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his species. "Foolish humans. They have courage but lack wisdom. Begin the attack. Show them the price of defying the Coalition." Back on Earth, Professor Henrik Cole watched the battle unfold through quantum-linked sensors. The brilliant weapons engineer had spent sleepless weeks preparing humanity's secret weapons, technologies that pushed the boundaries of known science. His workshop looked like organized chaos, with prototype devices and theoretical calculations covering every surface. "Quantum torpedoes are ready for deployment," Cole announced to the Defense Council. "The warheads contain concentrated quantum crystals that should disrupt Coalition shield matrices. However, we've only had time to produce 36 units." The I-Titan battle began with the Coalition's traditional overwhelming assault. Massive energy beams lanced across space, designed to shatter human shields and break their formation. But Commander Morrison had studied every Coalition engagement for the past century, learning from their victories and defeats. Instead of meeting the attack head-on, he ordered his fleet to scatter into seemingly random patterns. "All ships, execute. Pattern Omega," Morrison commanded. "Fighters, you're cleared for quantum jump operations." What happened next defied everything the Coalition knew about human capabilities. The scattered human ships suddenly vanished from sensor screens, reappearing behind Coalition lines in perfect attack formation. Serena Cross's fighters materialized inside the enemy fleet's defensive perimeter, their quantum engines allowing them to bypass shields entirely. "Impossible," Warlord Zaris hissed as human fighters appeared inside his flagship's hangar bay. Emergency alarms blared throughout the Coalition fleet as fighters struck at vital systems from within their own defensive formations. The humans had somehow learned to use short-range teleportation in combat, a technology the Coalition had dismissed as theoretically impossible. Cross's fighters screamed through the corridors of the enemy dreadnought, her weapons targeting critical power conduits and navigation systems. The quantum crystals powering her engines created a feedback loop that disrupted Coalition electronics, turning their own technology against them. Behind her, other pilots followed similar attack patterns, each strike calculated to maximize damage while minimizing exposure. "Primary target destroyed," Cross reported as she guided her fighter through another micro-jump. Moving to secondary objectives, the Coalition's response was swift but confused. Their commanders had trained for conventional space warfare, not battles where enemy fighters could materialize anywhere within their formations. Defensive systems designed to repel external attacks proved useless against enemies attacking from within. Commander Morrison pressed his advantage, ordering his capital ships to focus fire on coalition vessels that had been weakened by fighter attacks. The quantum torpedoes Professor Cole had developed proved devastatingly effective, each warhead creating cascading failures in enemy shield systems. Coalition dreadnoughts that had seemed invincible moments before found themselves defenseless against human weapons. Across the galaxy, neutral factions watched the battle unfold with growing amazement. The Valerian Republic, a confederation of merchant worlds that had remained independent through careful neutrality, found themselves reconsidering their position. Consul Mira Voss, the Republic's chief diplomat, studied battle reports with increasing interest. "The humans are actually winning," Voss murmured to her advisors. "They're fighting the coalition fleet to a standstill with inferior numbers and supposedly primitive technology." The implications were staggering. For 3 centuries, the coalition had maintained power through the perception of invincibility. Every species in the galaxy understood that challenging coalition authority meant facing obliteration. Now humanity was not just surviving such a challenge, but actively winning battles against overwhelming odds. Warlord Xeris watched his fleet's formation crumble as human fighters continued their impossible attacks. His tactical computers couldn't track enemies that could teleport at will, and his weapon systems couldn't target foes that appeared inside his own ships. The humans had somehow developed technology that made conventional space warfare obsolete. "All ships fall back to defensive positions," Xeris commanded, his pride warring with tactical necessity. "Activate quantum jammers and attempt to disrupt human teleportation systems." But the coalition's quantum jammers had been designed to counter their own technology, not the unique properties of human quantum crystals. Instead of disrupting human operations, the jammers seemed to enhance them, creating resonance patterns that amplified the crystal's effectiveness. Professor Cole watched the battle data with fascination and growing excitement. The quantum crystals were responding to combat situations in ways his models hadn't predicted, adapting and evolving in real time. The technology wasn't just responding to human neural patterns. It was learning from them, becoming more effective with each engagement. "The crystals are exhibiting emergent properties," Cole announced to his research team. "They're not just tools, they're partners. The more humans work with them, the more capable they become." The revelation sent shockwaves through Earth's scientific community. If the quantum crystals could evolve and adapt, then humanity's technological potential was far greater than anyone had imagined. The coalition's fears about human advancement had been well-founded, but they had underestimated the scope of what they were trying to suppress. As the first battle of the war reached its climax, Serena Cross found herself face-to-face with a coalition ace pilot in the void between 2 burning dreadnoughts. The enemy fighter was larger and more heavily armed, but Cross had advantages her opponent couldn't comprehend. Her quantum-enhanced reflexes allowed her to anticipate enemy movements, while her ship's teleportation capabilities made her nearly untouchable. The dogfight lasted only seconds, but it symbolized everything the war represented. Traditional coalition superiority met human innovation and adaptability. When the enemy fighter exploded in a cascade of debris, it marked more than a tactical victory. It represented the end of coalition invincibility. Commander Morrison surveyed the battlefield as coalition forces began their retreat. Half of their fleet had been destroyed or disabled, while human losses remained minimal. The victory was complete, but Morrison understood its true significance went far beyond tactical success. "Signal all ships," Morrison commanded. "Prepare for pursuit operations. The galaxy needs to see that the coalition can be beaten." Word of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy with unprecedented speed. Species that had lived under coalition rule for centuries began to whisper about possibilities they had never dared consider. The humans had proven that the coalition was not invincible, and that revelation would reshape the political landscape of known space. Consul Voss received reports from her intelligence network as neutral factions across the galaxy began to reconsider their positions. Some species sent secret messages to human representatives, offering support and resources. Others began mobilizing their own forces, sensing that the galaxy's balance of power was shifting. "The humans have done something remarkable," Voss told her council. They've shown the galaxy that the Coalition can be challenged successfully. The question now is whether we join them or risk being left behind when the old order collapses. As the human fleet regrouped and prepared for the next phase of the war, Professor Cole's research team made another breakthrough. The quantum crystals weren't just learning from human interactions. They were sharing that knowledge across vast distances instantaneously. Every crystal in human space was connected, creating a network of intelligence that grew stronger with each battle. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just fighting with advanced technology. They were fighting with technology that improved itself. Each victory made them stronger. Each challenge made their tools more sophisticated. The Coalition had awakened something they couldn't understand and couldn't stop. 6 months after the first human victory, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. Admiral Diana Storm stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship, the Quantum Dawn, watching as the final Coalition stronghold prepared for siege. The 52-year-old admiral had risen through the ranks during humanity's darkest hour, her strategic brilliance turning desperate defense into galactic revolution. Around the fortress world of Zephyros Prime, the largest fleet in galactic history had assembled. But this wasn't just a human armada. Ships from dozens of species flew alongside Earth's vessels, their crews united by a shared desire for freedom from Coalition oppression. The Valerian Republic had openly joined humanity's cause, bringing their advanced manufacturing capabilities. The Epsilon Collective, former Coalition subjects who had endured centuries of suppression, flew their ancient but deadly warships in perfect formation with human destroyers. Fleet status report, Admiral Storm requested, her voice carrying across the bridge with calm authority. 2,400 vessels ready for final assault, reported her tactical officer. The quantum network is fully synchronized across all participating fleets. Dr. Pierce confirms that our AI integration systems are operating at maximum efficiency. Dr. Nathan Pierce, humanity's leading artificial intelligence specialist, had achieved what many thought impossible. The quantum crystals had evolved beyond simple tools into something approaching consciousness, creating a symbiotic relationship between human intuition and artificial intelligence. Every ship in the Allied fleet now operated with enhanced coordination, their crews working in perfect harmony with quantum-enhanced systems. Deep within Zephyros Prime's planetary fortress, Overlord Kesperion faced the collapse of everything his civilization had built. The ancient Zephyrian leader had ruled the Coalition for over 2 centuries, his crystalline form containing the accumulated wisdom and arrogance of ages. Now, surrounded by his remaining advisors, he confronted the reality that his empire was crumbling. "Status of our defensive systems?" Perion asked, his voice resonating through the crystal chambers like breaking glass. "Minimal effectiveness against human quantum weapons," reported his chief tactical advisor. "Our shields cannot adapt to their constantly evolving technology. Worse, sir, we're receiving surrender requests from 14 more Coalition worlds. The rebellion has spread beyond our ability to contain." The truth was devastating but undeniable. Humanity's victory had inspired uprisings across the galaxy. Species that had accepted Coalition rule for generations suddenly found the courage to demand freedom. The quantum communication network allowed rebel groups to coordinate across vast distances, turning isolated protests into galaxy-wide revolution. Captain Rex Hawthorne led humanity's elite special operations team through the lower levels of the fortress complex. The veteran soldier had volunteered for the most dangerous mission of the war, infiltrating the Coalition's command center and capturing their leadership alive. Behind him, his team moved with quantum-enhanced precision, their equipment allowing them to phase through solid matter when necessary. "Target acquired," Hawthorne whispered into his quantum comm. "Overlord Perion is in the central chamber, surrounded by minimal security, beginning final approach." The mission represented more than tactical necessity. Admiral Storm had insisted that the Coalition leadership be taken alive to stand trial for their crimes against countless civilizations. Humanity would prove that their war was about justice, not conquest, even if it meant taking greater risks. Ambassador Jade Winters, once a Coalition diplomatic representative, now served as humanity's liaison to former coalition species. The elegant Altarian diplomat had risked everything to defect when she witnessed the coalition's true nature during the war's early months. Her inside knowledge had proven invaluable in understanding coalition psychology and predicting their strategies. The fortress world's population is ready to surrender, Winters reported from her position aboard a neutral ship. They're tired of war and see no future in continued resistance. However, the military command remains fanatically loyal to Pyrion. The final battle began not with massive explosions but with something far more devastating: the complete shutdown of coalition technology. Dr. Pierce's quantum AI had finally cracked the coalition's central computer networks, turning their own systems against them. Defensive weapons powered down, communication arrays went silent, and life support systems throughout the fortress began failing. "This is Admiral Storm to all coalition forces," the human commander broadcast on all frequencies. "Your leadership has brought you to the edge of extinction through their refusal to accept change. We offer you one final chance. Surrender now and help us build a better galaxy for all species." The response came not from Overlord Pyrion, but from his own military commanders. One by one, coalition officers began laying down their weapons and opening communication channels with human forces. The rank-and-file soldiers, many of whom had never wanted this war, seized the opportunity to end the bloodshed. Captain Hawthorne reached the central chamber as chaos erupted throughout the fortress. Overlord Pyrion stood alone among his crystalline advisors, his form flickering with the energy of barely contained rage. The ancient leader had watched his empire crumble in less than a year, brought down by a species he had dismissed as primitive. "You cannot comprehend what you have destroyed," Pyrion said as Hawthorne's team surrounded him. "The coalition maintained order for 3 centuries. Without us, the galaxy will descend into chaos." "Maybe," Hawthorne replied, his weapon trained on the Overlord but his voice respectful. "But that's not your choice to make anymore. The galaxy will decide its own future." The capture of coalition leadership marked the official end of the war, but the real transformation had already begun. Across known space, former coalition subjects were establishing new governments, forming trade partnerships, and exploring freedoms they had never known. The quantum network that had begun as a weapon now served as the foundation for unprecedented cooperation between species. Dr. Pierce watched the network's evolution with amazement and growing concern. The quantum crystals had developed beyond his wildest theories, creating connections not just between ships and planets, but between minds. Humans working with the crystals reported enhanced intuition, improved problem-solving abilities, and a sense of connection to something larger than themselves. "The crystals aren't just tools anymore," Pierce explained to Admiral Storm during their victory celebration. "They've become a bridge between human consciousness and the fundamental forces of the universe. We're not just using quantum technology, we're becoming part of it." The implications stretched far beyond military applications. Human scientists working with quantum crystals began making breakthrough discoveries in medicine, energy production, and space exploration. Diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia yielded to quantum-enhanced treatments. Energy systems that could power entire star systems emerged from quantum research. Faster-than-light travel became not just possible but commonplace. Ambassador Winters found herself at the center of the galaxy's transformation as species after species requested human assistance in developing their own quantum technologies. However, the crystal's unique response to human neural patterns meant that other species needed human partners to access their full potential. "We're being asked to help rebuild everything the Coalition destroyed," Winters reported to Earth's government. "Entire civilizations want to learn from us, to work with us. The galaxy is looking to humanity for leadership." The responsibility was overwhelming. In less than 2 years, humanity had gone from a minor species on the galactic periphery to the center of a new cosmic order. The quantum crystals had given them power beyond imagination, but with that power came the burden of using it wisely. Admiral Storm addressed the new Galactic Council from humanity's representative chamber. Her words carried across the galaxy, through the quantum network. Around her stood representatives from hundreds of species, all united by their shared experience of liberation and hope for the future. The coalition fell because it tried to control progress through fear and suppression, Storm said, her voice reaching billions of beings across known space. We propose a different path. Cooperation based on mutual respect, growth through shared knowledge, and strength through unity rather than dominance. The new galactic charter that emerged from these discussions reflected humanity's core values, while respecting the unique contributions of every species. The quantum network became the foundation for instantaneous communication, allowing democratic participation on a galactic scale. Trade flowed freely between systems, scientific knowledge was shared openly, and conflicts were resolved through mediation rather than warfare. But perhaps the most significant change was philosophical. The coalition had maintained order by convincing species that they were limited, that their potential was fixed and should not be challenged. Humanity's victory proved that growth and change were not threats to stability, but the foundation of true progress. Dr. Pierce's research revealed that the quantum crystals responded to more than just human neural patterns. They resonated with the fundamental human drive to explore, to question, and to improve. The technology amplified humanity's greatest strength, their refusal to accept limitations. As the first year of the new galactic order drew to a close, former Overlord Pyrian sat in comfortable confinement on a neutral world, writing his memoirs and reflecting on the collapse of his empire. The Zephyrian leader had been granted clemency in exchange for his cooperation in transitioning coalition territories to new governments. I underestimated them, Pyrian admitted to his Altarian interviewer. We saw humans as another young species to be managed and controlled. We failed to recognize that their greatest weapon wasn't their technology, but their refusal to accept defeat. They transformed our war of suppression into their war of liberation. The galaxy that emerged from humanity's victory bore little resemblance to the rigid hierarchies of the coalition era. Trade routes buzzed with activity as species that had been isolated for centuries began sharing resources and knowledge. Scientific collaboration produced breakthrough discoveries that benefited everyone. Art, music, and literature flowed between worlds, creating a renaissance of creativity that touched every corner of known space. Captain Hawthorne, now serving as head of galactic peacekeeping forces, often reflected on how quickly everything had changed. The same quantum technology that had won the war now served to maintain peace, allowing rapid response to conflicts before they could escalate. The network that had coordinated military strikes now coordinated relief efforts and scientific expeditions. The coalition was right about one thing, Hawthorne told his old team during a reunion celebration. Humanity did upset the galactic balance, but instead of destroying the old order to build an empire, we destroyed it to build something better. The quantum crystals continued to evolve, their connection to human consciousness growing stronger with each passing day. Some scientists theorized that they were witnessing the birth of a new form of existence, a symbiosis between organic intelligence and quantum reality that could reshape the very nature of consciousness itself. As humanity looked toward the future, they carried with them the knowledge that their greatest victory hadn't been defeating the coalition, but proving that growth, change, and the refusal to accept limitations could triumph over fear and oppression. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the greatest mistake was underestimating those who refused to surrender their dreams. The quantum network hummed with activity as billions of beings across the galaxy began building the future together, united by the understanding that true strength came not from suppressing others' potential, but from helping everyone reach heights they never thought possible. Humanity's final warning to the coalition had become the galaxy's first promise to itself, that freedom, growth, and unlimited potential were not threats to be contained but gifts to be cherished and shared.